All right, all right, all right. You're listening to the We're Talking Football podcast. I'm Weston. With me, as always, my right hand man, Lou. Lou, same dance, different week. We're another week in the books. We're here to discuss our Week 12 recap. It's Wednesday evening. Week 13 is less than 24 hours from being upon us. As always, how you feeling this evening?
Feeling great, Weston. Happy hump day, brother, man.
You ain't kidding, man. We were just talking about how this has been a long week returning back to work after extended weekend, getting our kids back in order. I think you and I have earned the right to take some time here and rap about football for a little while.
I think so. I agree.
Lou, one thing I am floored over is I honestly can't believe we're already discussing the happenings from week 12 and forecasting week 13 of the 2021 NFL season. It honestly feels like just yesterday we were covering the Senior Bowl as we kicked off, this venture that we started together. And I honestly am saddened by this because I just don't want this season to end.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an extremely weird season, to say the least. I feel like you don't. There's still no clarity in the AFC. What's going on? Who are the real contenders? Because it's anyone's week. I feel like every week we change our tune, just like the rest of media. Who are the real contenders? A couple of weeks ago it was the Titans. Now it's perhaps the Patriots and what have you. So it's just been a extremely weird year this year. And normally, as a Chargers fan, I find myself usually this late in the season focusing on the draft. I think that's going to be delayed right now for a little bit, probably about for another 2 weeks before I start really doing some draft homework. Being that the Chargers will be out of it by then, but yeah, I'm enjoying the season. It's been fun. It's been real exciting too, man.
Yeah, I love how you're leading in, right? I feel like you're almost stealing the words right from me that I put together for this evening's intro and basically saying that, like, as we get deeper into the season, this is the time of year where playoff teams are starting to kind of take shape, but the races are real tight for these wild card spots in both the AFC and NFC. So many teams are still in contention for essentially what amounts to those like 6 and 7 seeds, right? I feel like 1 through 4 for the most part in each division, for the most part, are relatively kind of wrapped up. Even that fifth spot, so that first wild card, but you have 6 teams in the AFC who all have a shot at the final wild card spot, right? Like 6 teams for one final spot. While in the NFC, you have 7 teams that are actually in contention for the 6th and 7th seed spot. So, by my calculations, there are probably only 5 teams across a 32 team league who are pretty much at this point mathematically out of contention. And that's not even a true statement, right? Because there are 2 teams sitting at 3-8 that could go on an improbable run, and people could go on an improbable fall. So they're not even mathematically eliminated. In reality, they're like 3 teams that are truly mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, which is wild. Like, how is that for parity in a league that we always talk about? There's not enough parity from time to time. That being said, I think we got a lot of cool stuff to cover this evening. My suggestion is, unless you got something to add, we should probably just jump right into this and get into our different segments here this evening.
Yeah, I just want to get over my hometown take. To be honest with you, it's something I'm not really looking forward to. So go ahead, tee me up. Set me up. Go ahead,
I-
Weston.
I'm gonna lob in the softball for you. Begin like we always do with our hometown takes. Your Chargers had the Denver Broncos. My 49ers had the Minnesota Vikings. Lou, the floor is yours. Tell me what you saw this weekend from your Chargers.
I saw pain, Weston. I saw pain. That's what I saw. I'll start off with the good because it's short and sweet, like myself. Uh, just Derwin James. He was the only sole bright spot on that Chargers team this past Sunday against the Broncos. He was all over the field. He was a menace. He was flying all around the field. He had 7 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, and a beautiful diving interception. Outside of his play, where he showed everyone that yes, he is a top 5 safety in the league, there's really nothing to appreciate from a Chargers fan standpoint. It just was an awful game. And I get it. I'm done with my good, by the way. Unless you want to add something, because I'm done. Like that was it. Like
All
that's
right.
how bad this game was.
So I can't let your Chargers go out like that because I too
But
watched
they
this
did.
game. They did. But I would say if I had to come back to some of the good, so this is like good with bad. You had another week where Herbert was like the leading rusher, which we talked about, like is not a winning formula, but it is something that he is certainly capable of. One of the things that I would talk about from a bad perspective is it just felt like the O-line gave up a lot of pressure. A
Hold on,
lot of pressure.
you're stealing my thunder.
Yes.
But go
But
ahead.
I'm gonna parlay this into something good that I saw. I am still on the Justin Herbert bandwagon because for all of that pressure, he was only sacked one time, if memory serves me correctly. Maybe two, but I want to say one time he was sacked. He's really special avoiding the rush and getting outside of the pocket and getting on the move and being able to still see the field. And his first instinct is not to take off. Like his head is up, he's looking downfield. And to me, that's still a bright spot that you can take away from this game. Just the mere fact at like, dude, trust me, from having a quarterback that can't do those things, like it had me longing for an individual that could, like, on paper, statistically, he made his offensive line look a lot better than they actually played. And I just found that to be something that, for the next 5 to 7 years, why his legs will still do that for him. That's gonna breed special opportunities and big play opportunities where, a potential sack is going to turn into a 45, 50-yard chunk play down the field because he's buying that time. And you and I know how difficult it is to cover wide receivers in this league for more than 3 seconds, right? And he gives himself the opportunity and his receivers the opportunity to run around for longer than 3 seconds and get open. So to me, that was also outside the play of Derwin James, because I agree with you. He just looked phenomenal in this game. I liked what I saw from Herbert in that regard.
See, you're just being sweet because you knew how much of a shit show this past Sunday was with the Chargers. No, Herbert didn't play good in my opinion, and I don't think that's all on him. I'm going to get into that in a little bit. So let's talk about some of the bad. Sometimes the team just has your number, especially within the division when you play within the division. The Los Angeles Chargers are 5-16 in the last 21 matchups against the Broncos. They just do not match up well against Denver. That's just that. It's that apparent. Like I said, Herbert was not good. He made plenty of poor throws, awful decisions. He had 2 interceptions, but damn, could have been near 4, if you ask my opinion. Couldn't push the ball down the field. This is why I'm not so upset at Herbert. All right. I feel like Herbert's being asked to do too much. Meaning, the only way the Chargers can win a game is if he's perfect. And the fact that they have 6 wins right now means he has pretty much 6 perfect games. And some of the 5 losses, he was damn near perfect. For example, the Cowboys game and what have you. He's pretty close to perfect. So I'm not putting this all on him. I'm putting some of it on the coaching staff. And I'm going to get into that a little later. But you did say something earlier about the pressures. You were right. The Chargers allowed us season high 19 pressures on Denver to Denver on Sunday. In particular, it was their off the street guards playing like off the street players. They have no business being on the field. They allowed 11 pressures between both guards. See, that's the issue. What do I always say? I say an interior pressure is more catastrophic than the edge rushing pressure because it's right in your face. Quarterbacks can't step up in the pocket and throw and deliver. It's extremely more distracting. That was my issue right there. And what the crazy thing is, we're talking about all these pressures, 19 pressures. All right, so Denver is noted for blitzing about almost like 33% of the time. Daniel Popper, who covers the Chargers, made a note. Los Angeles faced pass rushers of 4 men or fewer over 88% of the time. So it's not like Denver was doing their crazy blitzes like they have been in the past. They just were rushing 4 or fewer, and they still were able to get home on the majority of those pass rushing situations. That's how you know your offensive line played bad. So those are some of the things that are concerning to me. It's the coaching not putting the players in an ability to be successful. Because they even said today, I think Staley was the coach of the Chargers, saying, "Yeah, we were expecting pretty much a lot of blitzes, and in order to combat that, we knew our offensive line." I'm paraphrasing, by the way,
No.
but we knew our offensive line needed some additional help, so we had numerous. It was like 60% of like max protection, or pretty damn close to it. Max protection is when you keep tight ends in and running backs in, and you only run like 3 men routes. So Denver wasn't blitzing. So they totally misread the game script there and the game flow there. This hasn't been the first time that the coaching of the Chargers have failed them. When they played New England, don't forget, they were totally perplexed because New England played a lot of cover two shell defenses, and pretty much Herbert even said that's something that they haven't showed all season. So this coaching, I'm a little concerned about this coaching staff and their ability to make adjustments, because this is the second or third time pretty much say they weren't prepared when it comes to going into a game. So that is a little concerning. And Weston, I actually want to call you out right now. I'm going to drag you through the mud a little bit, because earlier this year, especially
You're
in the
not the
offseason,
first, and you won't be the last.
yeah, buckle up here. You made me believe in the Chargers this year. When I said they were a year away, and you were so goddamn convincing with your arguments and your tone and your Matthew McConaughey flow and what have you. That no, this is the Chargers now. This is their ability now. And I said, no, it's not. It's not. It's not. And then I made that corny ass joke that this Chargers is built like a Madden roster, where in the settings injury and fatigue is turned off. They don't have depth at the offensive line. They don't have depth at the defensive line. They do not have a viable running back too. Now Eckler is phenomenal, but he doesn't get like the last couple of weeks. They limit his touches because they don't want to wear him down throughout the whole season. The issue is they don't know who the hell to put behind him. No one's producing. No one's stepping up in that RB2 scenario. So they are a team that is a year before their time at minimum, because next year they do have $76 million in cap space. Hopefully they get off their ass and find their wallet and start spending. But they are a year before their time, and I'm sorry. I'll tell you right now, I think we're looking at a 9-win season when all comes said and done, just missing the playoffs. You notice the trend here, the games that they do get killed in are defensive-minded coaches. You have Zimmer in the Vikings. You have Fangio of the Broncos. You have Belichick of the Patriots, and you have Harbaugh of the Ravens. They got destroyed by all four teams, and they all have something in common. These defensive-minded coaches are been perplexing them. Not just Justin Herbert, who's having trouble post-snap when it comes to reading their defenses, but also the coaching staff, because there's a lot of things they're not prepared for when they're out there. And that's my 2 cents.
All right. Well, I got 2 cents for you too. I still believe in this team. I am not changing my tone whatsoever. You know damn well I do not subscribe to it's a year too early, it's a year too late. Like, it's the NFL. Like, a year later, you don't know what's going to happen, right? Like, and knock on wood when I say this, but like, yeah, so what? You got $70-something million to spend next year. What happens if your pride and glory goes down in the preseason, right? Like, then it matters nothing, right? So you got to take advantage of it while you're playing well. I'm going to counteract your argument. You're not wrong in the assessment of these defensive-minded, head coach-led teams are causing problems for the Chargers. That's on the offensive coordinator, like, and that's on the head coach. Like, be better, be prepared. You mentioned like not prepared. It's one thing not being prepared heading into a game. Like, hey, we expect them to run this defense, and they don't run that defense. Like, make a fucking adjustment. You know what I mean? Like,
see,
that's my concern, is like, make the adjustment in the game. If they're only rushing 4, Why do we need to have 7 blockers in at all times? Because now they have 7 people to cover your 3 people who are running routes. It just doesn't mathematically add up and make sense. So that's where my biggest concern is. Lou, you can't look at me and tell me they don't have all the talent in the world on the offensive side of the ball. And this is an offensive driven
See,
league.
all right. So I think they're kind of like a Monet. Yeah, they look beautiful from afar, but they're far from beautiful. Let me tell you why. They had those big names. Herbert, yes, they got some good offensive linemen, in particularly the left tackle, left guard, and the center. They got Eckler, they got Keenan, and they got Williams. However, they have absolutely no deep threat. And what I mean in deep threat is your speedster that takes
Yep.
top off the defense. Let me tell you why this is imperative. First and foremost, when you have someone that's legitimate a threat to the defense, to take it to the house or go 90 yards for a bomb touchdown. What that basically does is open up the intermediary parts of the field, right?
Yep.
So that's going to help
Safety's got to get deep.
Yeah, that's going to help. Keenan and Mike Williams and what have you. But also, we said this over the offseason too with Sarkisian, what he said. All right, so yeah, the Chargers put great drives together, 15 play drives, and they score a touchdown. Great. You cannot consistently rely on 15 play drives because what happens at 15 play drives? Sometimes you get the touchdown, but most of the time you're going to have numerous instances where penalties will derail that drive, or turnovers, or just a negative play of negative rushes. You need to have shorter drives so you have the ability to make less mistakes on those longer drives. So you need to have a healthy combination of, we can go march down 15 plays and score a touchdown, but you also better beware because we also can go Kansas City Chiefs on your ass and hit you 3 plays and 80 yards. So you need to have that ability. And I find it weird when their offense is sputtering. I also felt like this past week they didn't really change the tempo of their offense. When they're successful, they're in the huddle, call a play, run a play, and then randomly, speed up a play, almost like your Aaron Rodgers. That was not apparent this weekend whatsoever. They looked very lethargic. Denver was coming off a bye, and like I said, they just don't match up well against Denver in the last 6 years, 7 years.
I love the point that you make because this is one of my points that the Chargers offense looks the best when they're in 2-minute right? Like their best drive of the game was right before the first half ended. I mean, they took that ball down the field with ease and did it quickly, and it wasn't a time-consuming drive. But I think a lot of teams are this way, right? Because you spend a lot of time practicing 2-minute, and in 2-minute, you're calling your plays and letting the defense react, right? So like the offensive coordinator is not in their own head reacting to the defense. You're like, this is the play we're going to run, right? Like, and let them figure it out, sort of thing. But I agree with you with the weapons that they have, the way that they're built, an up-tempo offense suits them well, right? Especially with a young quarterback, like you take the thought process out of it, and it's like just go execute,
Well, what you're really doing is you're forcing the defense to play dummy down defense. I mean,
Yep.
like they can't adjust as frequently as they would like to. You just catch them off guard. So that's
Yep.
what you're really trying to do.
Can't substitute. They can't blitz. They can't do a lot when you're
They just
moving.
cover 2,
Yep.
cover
Yep.
3,
Yep.
And last but not least, because I really do want to get off the Chargers, because I feel I just know my blood pressure medicine is not working as good as it should be right now. But the Broncos run the same type of defense as the Chargers, too high safety. Where was the running? Where was the rushing attack against the Broncos? Why couldn't they run the ball? I think that would have been extremely beneficial to try because all the boxes were so light. It works against the Chargers. In theory, it should work against the Broncos too. But I digress.
All right. I mean, this is my number one point that I have in my notes from this game is like what you just talked about, that the Broncos seem to just be able to run the ball at will. And in big time scenarios, right? Like they could run, 3rd and 5 and still run for it and get a first down, right? Like 2nd and 6, still run for it, get a first down.
3rd and 11, 3rd and goal from the 11-yard line, and they ran it on a draw and scored a friggin' touchdown.
I know.
Come on, man.
Yeah. To me, Lou, watching this game, And I know that the Broncos play the Chargers tough, right? And, like this is why I love divisional games, right? Because sometimes the better team doesn't win because like somebody's just got your number. There's always a big brother scenario. And I felt like the Broncos defense was like almost in the huddle with the Chargers offense. Like they just made them work hard and earn every yard, every reception. Um, Honestly, from this game, it looked like the Broncos had a top 10 defense in the NFL, and they do not, but it looked like that they did. Like they were all over the place. Um, I agree with you that while Herbert only had 2 picks, he probably should have thrown 3 or 4 this game. But I also think
I counted
that's
4, yeah.
that's game flow sometimes too, right? Like, hey, like I got to put this on my shoulders. Nothing else is getting done. We're not running the football. We're not doing anything. But to me, the one that was not his fault is the one that broke the Chargers back, right?
The
So,
Austin Eckler drop
yeah,
pass
for a pick six. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's
That
not on.
killed them. That was over because it was I think they were only
They
down
were down
8.
7. They were down
7 or
7.
8,
Yeah,
7. So down
and
7, and they were driving.
yeah, and then put them down 14. 13 actually, because I think they missed the extra. I think Denver missed the extra point there, if I remember correctly. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Y'all can't kick for shit, miss field goals, right? Like that makes it a
That was a
lesser
50.
one.
Man, that was a
Yeah,
52-yarder.
but that was missed ugly, bro. That wasn't even close.
It doesn't matter. It's not, we need our kickers just to make 30 and 40 yards.
Yeah.
I don't expect them to make 50 yarders.
So
I'm a realistic fan.
Yeah, no, I get it. 50 yards is tough, man. That's what kickers get paid. Like that's the money, right? Like if they can hit the 50-yarder, that's a bonus, and that's why NFL teams now go for it on 4th and 5 and 4th and 6 and that like no man's land. This is my final comment, and then we'll move on.
Please.
I just don't know how else to describe it other than the Chargers just fell out of sync. Like that's it, right? I think that's like the perfect summarization is they just watching that game as an outsider just felt like they were out of sync, struggled to find a rhythm. When they did, it was in spurts and very small spurts at that.
All right.
All right. So
Woosah.
Woosah. Now you get to listen to me for a few minutes here.
Yeah.
So let's get into that 49ers Vikings game. Hey, I'll start it with that's 3 wins in a row by the exact same formula that we've been winning football games, right? Punch the other team in the mouth, in the trenches, both on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to start with the bad. And I do always struggle to find bad, like especially in this type of game where this was a very important win. Like we talked about last week that this had playoff-esque feels to it. 2 teams that we felt their record was not necessarily indicative of the team that they had. So it's hard for me to find some things. The one thing that stands out to me is the giving up that special teams touchdown to bring it within a single possession in that game, right? Like I honestly can't remember. It's been quite some time that I can remember having a kickoff return for a touchdown against the 49ers. I should have went back and actually looked at
when
good
though, that rookie.
It's his second of the year.
Yeah.
And he's been, and even throughout the game, like he was getting chunk returns, right? So it was only a matter of time. But like you just went up 14. And then all of a sudden just erases everything that you did and they didn't even touch the ball offensively when your defense had been starting to stifle them. So that's big. And usually special team, those are blunders, right? Like somebody missed a lane, somebody missed a tackle, somebody missed an assignment. And that's why I was brought to the house. Can't have those. Some other bad. Opening drive, Jesus. Jimmy missed high twice on open receivers, bad throws, call it whatever you want.
Just Jimmy being Jimmy, man.
Jimmy being Jimmy.
We complained about before so many times prior.
And he threw a pick on our opening drive after we held them to go 3 and out. That's actually now 3 opening drives this year that have resulted in a turnover for us. And that actually leads the NFL. And I don't think you would disagree with me, but that's not a category that you want to lead the NFL in, right? Like that.
You guys got to start deferring the kick.
Like, honestly, at one point, Jimmy was like 2 of 7, right? I think another thing that if I was being nitpicking here, like we too struggled to complete the pass rush. It felt like Denver's defense felt like we had a ton of pressure. We just weren't getting home. We had 1 sack by Bosa, and that was it, right? Another week, you and I are singing the same song and dance. Penalties continue to plague this team, and they always seem to rear their ugly head in inopportune moments. And then the biggest downfall of this game were the key injuries, right? So now you have Debo out with the groin injury, probably a couple weeks. But this is my concern. They're saying 2, but like it's a groin, right? It could be 2, it could be the rest of the season. Like you literally don't know. But this has always been my concern. Like while I'm having a lot of fun watching them use Debo the way that they do, I am genuinely concerned about that because you're giving him different touches. You're giving him more opportunity to take contact as a wide receiver. Yes, he's built for that contact, but he's still not a running back, right? Like at the end of the day, he's still not a running back, and you're exposing him.
If he rushes the ball, for example, Weston, if he rushes the ball like 7 times, he's getting hit by either linebackers or defensive linemen 7 times. As opposed to if he's catching 7 passes, he's getting hit usually by corners and safeties.
Yeah,
not
and getting run out of
type
bounds. Like how often is he being brought to the ground? And the way that he runs, you give him 7 touches, he's getting hit 10 or 12 times, right? Because he's busting through tackles. I get it. Like he's special, but like it has been weighing on me in the back of my mind that something like this can happen. What made it even more painful was it was non-contact. Like he literally just went down.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even hit and he just like went down. The other one's Fred Warner, likely to miss. This is a hammy, right? This could be 1 week. This could be the rest of the season. You never know with hamstrings. And then Dre Greenlaw in his first week back, he's going to miss more time re-aggravating his groin injury. So tough losses when you have a divisional game coming up against the Seahawks. And I don't care what the Seahawks record says. The 40, like you talked about how the Broncos own you. The Seahawks own the 49ers over the last 7 years plus, right? So like you want all of your people. You want to be playing well, going in full strength, especially having to travel on the road. So let me get into the good. I said earlier, 3 wins in a row. After a very slow, rocky start from Jimmy, he did get back on track and was steady through the remainder of the game. What was actually the most impressive to me was there were a number of times where Kittle, even the running backs were open underneath, which is like typical Jimmy check down moments that he would just do, right? Like dump it off 4 or 5 yards is what it is. But he hung in there a little longer at times and took shots down the field to Ayuk for bigger plays. And I was like, whoa, like he hung in there for a second, waited a moment longer, and threw his wide receiver open into the middle of the field. Like that's some of the progression that I've been looking for the last 2 years that just hasn't seemed to come. Another bright shining star in this game to me was Elijah Mitchell returning after missing a week. He went for 133 and a TD, caught 5 passes, 35 yards. Love this kid, runs hard. He does exactly what Kyle Shanahan dreams of, that one cut and go type running back. He's super fast and he's dude, he's like hard to bring down and he's not a big guy, right? Like I've seen many times where he's hit at 3 or 4 yards and it's an 8-yard carry. And it's not even like he's carrying everybody. It's just like his natural motion is he gets hit, still has a little balance and is still leaning forward, you know? And I love that about him. I think Mostert going down, like these guys are clones to one another outside of like who runs upright, who runs more low pack to the ground. But you're talking about similar 40 times, similar one cut go mentalities, just find the hole. They have a similar skill set. And honestly, at this point, I feel like Elijah Mitchell is looking like a steal out of this draft in the 6th round for his production right now.
It's funny, everyone was talking about Trey Sermon in that draft, and lo and behold, the Niners got themselves a running back in the draft. It wasn't Trey Sermon.
No, it certainly wasn't. Sermon's going to struggle to make this roster next year. Not make the roster. He'll get another shot, but they love JaMychal Hasty. Raheem Mostert's going to get another shot to come back and be healthy.
Wilson.
They love Jeff Wilson. Sermon's going to struggle. Don't be surprised if you see him move this offseason for like a 5th or 6th round pick and just chalking up the loss and recouping some draft capital.
We'll see.
To me, IU continues to ascend, just continues to do more. That's just great news, especially considering Debo's out. I think you'll see a lot of this week, him getting Debo similar type work, not necessarily lining up in the backfield, but you'll see more jet sweeps. You'll see a little bit more trickery with his name because he too is special after the catch. He's more elusive. He's not like a bowling ball like Debo, but he is definitely special after the catch. And the biggest for me from 2 players that I have left, one was Juwan Jennings. Nobody knows Juwan Jennings, right? I know Juwan Jennings, not just because he's a 49er, but I'm a Tennessee Vols fan, right? And he's just like I love your boy Palmer. I love Juwan Jennings coming out. He plays like a dog. He's big. He's physical. He's actually been involved in north of like 60% of the team snaps for like the last 3 weeks, even with a healthy Debo and Ayuk on the field. So he's finally getting into the mix. Like I said, he's
Well,
big.
he's a blocking receiver, right?
Yes, which is, dude, he caught a touchdown. He made a premier catch on a third down in traffic where he bullied this ball out of somebody, caught a touchdown pass, caught a second touchdown pass that they overturned because they said the knee hit out of bounds. But last I checked, the rule in the NFL is if the shin hits before the knee comes down, that's the equivalent of 2 feet. I think they blew this call. I think he should have had 2 touchdowns where we settle for a field goal. But you just said, the most important element of his game and him being on the field is he bolsters the running game because he is a physical downfield blocker. And if we want to beat Seattle, we have to do exactly what we did over these last 3 weeks. Have to run the ball 40 times, has to be north of 150 rushing yards. You have to eat up clock. You have to keep Russell Wilson off the field and keep him out of sync. And that's the formula. And I think he helps that.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. He had a pretty good preseason too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep. I thought this was the year we would see him even earlier.
Yeah.
Trent Sherfield was also somebody who had a really good preseason that was catching a lot. But I've been high on Juwan since he was a rookie. I just felt like this was a guy that I thought would play his way onto the field sooner. And now his physicality is showing. Like, what's the best thing about George Kittle is he's a better blocker than he is receiver, right? Like at the end of the day, I don't care what you say, like he makes our running game go. And you have another guy who carries a similar mentality spread out wide. He's going to eat up cornerbacks. He's going to chip on linebackers. Like you can play him all over the place. I love that. And then the final player for me that I'll highlight, and then I want to get into a couple concepts right here, is Azeez Al-Shaair, the game of his lifetime. He's really coming into his own as a linebacker position. The timing could not be more perfect with Greenlaw and Warner being out. He's going to wear the green dot. And I love it. A lot of 49er pundits have been on this guy for a while, and throughout the course of this season, he's gotten his opportunity because Greenlaw's been out for the majority of the season, and he's really shined. So more about him a little later. But I said before, right, as a team, we're just playing bully ball. We ran 67 total plays, 39 carries, 5.3 yards per carry for 208 yards, and we ate up 37 minutes of time possession. That's a formula for winning football games, no matter how you cut it. But here's my favorite thing, Lou, and then I'll let you say whatever you want. We can get out of here because I know we're staying long on our teams here. My most favorite thing about this game is actually a series of possessions that a head coach could not script any better than the way this unfolded. So it started with 8 minutes and 35 seconds left in the second quarter. We took the ball down for 15 plays, went 85 yards, ate up 8 minutes and 20 seconds of that clock, resulting in a touchdown right before the half to Jennings, leaving the Minnesota Vikings with no time. And we get the ball to start the second half. This is like the Bill Belichick special, right? Like end the half, get the ball at the second half. We went 6 plays to start the second half, 6 plays for 75 yards and a Debo TD. On the very next possession, Cousins throws a pick on the first play that we return to the 2-yard line, and 1 play later, punch it in from Elijah Mitchell. So that is 21 consecutive unanswered points. In theory, if you just look at the time that the first touchdown was scored in like 4 minutes of game time, right? Like that's how you win. Like you could not dream up a better scenario. That was some of the best sequential football I have seen from any team in a long time. And like, it just was the right formula, right? Like you get the ball with 8 minutes left and you go into a 4-minute offense, right? Like we're going to eat clock. We're going to run this down. And you did it for 8 minutes. Then you start it off, you go down the field, boom. Then the quarterback shits the bed, throws an interception on the first play. Don't even know what he was looking at. You're on the 2-yard line. Boom. Another one. Like this game went from 14-7 to 28-14 in a flash. Yep. And it was wild, dude. Great game. A game we needed to win, absolutely had to win. Puts us in the 6th slot for the for the wild card in the NFC playoffs.
Yeah, and you guys are starting to peak at the right time. Uh, like I said earlier in the year, this is why you stick with Jimmy G. He doesn't look great, but you just need with your defense the way it's been playing as of late, and also your rushing attack. You don't need a quarterback to win you a game. You just need a quarterback to manage you a game, and that's what he's been doing. And listen, with the Rams faltering and Cowboys starting to slip a little bit, I'm not saying you're going to catch up to like their type of record or what have you, but who else is out there? The Saints I think lost 3 in a row. So
Yep.
think about it. It's you beat one of your prime competitors for that last spot, the Vikings. So yeah, I think you're starting to peak at the right time.
Hopefully, I think this weekend will be telling against Seattle in Seattle, a game that we should on paper go in and win. Need to go in and win it. Need to go in and win it. Can't give up any momentum because then you have Cincinnati the following week on the road. Like, got to go in and win this game. All right, so let's get out of here.
Okay.
Let's get into. Tell me what you are freaking out about.
Well, my goal for the rest of the show is to see how I can annoy and piss you off, Weston, because you made me believe in the Chargers a year too early. So what I'm freaking out is my boy Tua and the Dolphins. All right.
Here we go. Here we
go. Tua and the Dolphins now entered the playoff chat with three wins in a row. Tua has been balling. Weston's boy Tua has been balling over the last 3 games. Weston's guy has a QB rating of over 100 in each of those games. In the last 2 games, he's had over 80% completion of his passes. And by the way, let's take a peek ahead of their next 3 games. Home against the Giants, home against the Jets, and on the road against the Saints. Weston, I think your boy is going to start showing why the Dolphins picked him. And I think they can be a sneaky competitor for that 7th spot. But don't look now. The Dolphins are, getting hot, in Miami, and they're starting to show that, just like you predicted, Tua is the real deal.
Yeah, here we go. I'm going to rebuttal this fucking immediately. Let's look at the caliber of competition.
Hey,
right?
no, Weston, you literally have said you only play the teams.
You can only play the teams on your schedule. You're right.
Don't do this to me, Weston. Don't go back on your word.
But
be a man.
Let's be real here. The Carolina Panthers, who are reeling unbelievably, and let's call it what it is.
From a defensive standpoint, they're no slouches. Nope.
Carolina, New York Jets, Baltimore. So you have two real defenses on that list. But I will tell you right now that in both the Carolina game and in the Baltimore game, the Miami's defense balled out and put that offense in very opportunistic scenarios. Tua Tagovailoa had very little to do in influencing these wins. Stop it.
Weston.
Looking at the stats.
Weston. Hear me out. Ask any Giant fans. They all know that quarterbacks are the sole reason for wins. So Eli Manning was the only reason why they won those Super Bowls. So Tua is the only reason why they won those games. You can ask any Giants fan, and they will tell you that.
Bro, he threw for 230 last week. Let's slow
80% completion percentage.
Okay, what was his yard per attempt?
It doesn't matter.
It matters, Lou. You talked about it in your top 10 quarterbacks.
It does.
It matters.
Like 8,
yeah. Like,
who's your next freak? Who's your freaking out?
We have to get out of that immediately. So if I'm the Seahawks, I'm freaking out, right? Like if I'm the Seattle Seahawks, I'm absolutely freaking out. 3 consecutive embarrassing losses. We're now 3-8. Damn near mathematically out of playoff contention at this point.
Lost 5 of 6.
Yeah, there is nothing that tells me that this team could go win and rattle off 6 in a row, right? Like there's nothing that says it. This has been a dominant franchise for the last decade, right? Like dominant team in the NFC, perennial playoff contender, and they just look like an absolute shell of themselves. Pete Carroll looks lost. Russell Wilson looks lost. And Russell Wilson's struggles go back to last year. They're not just happening this year with the finger injury. Now, I say this, and they'll come in and mop up the 49ers. But since week 10 of 2020, and I'll take out the games that Russ is injured, he is 15th in QBR, 21st in completion percentage, and 24th in first down completions. Dude, this is a guy that you and I said was the third best quarterback overall in the NFL coming into
Hold
this
on.
season.
I got. But when we said that, did we not say this is perhaps the worst third best overall quarterback we felt of all time?
Yes.
We
We did
literally
both
said
say
it.
that, and we
We
can
did
pull that
say
up
that.
right now. Here's another thing I'm concerned about. DK Metcalf the last 3 weeks.
MIA, and I'm not talking where the Dolphins play at either.
No, yeah. 3 for 26, 4 for 31, and against Washington, 1 for 13. You're just not getting your playmakers involved. I feel like the last 3 weeks, dude, the last 3 weeks, their defense has been on the field for 79 plays, 79 plays, 70 plays, and that's against Washington, Arizona, and the Green Bay Packers. I'm expecting just huge shakeups of this offseason, and candidly, it shouldn't start with the quarterback, but I think at this point, Russ will be seeking greener pastures because there's nothing there left for him to do, and there's nothing left there for him to accomplish. And if I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan, I'm coming to the realization, just like 49ers fan did when Jim Harbaugh walked out, and it was time for him to go, was like, we're going to be in purgatory for a little bit, and that's going to happen. And I think that's happening for the Seahawks fans.
Well, I'm going to project here, and I'm looking at my crystal ball here, and I see that there's going to be an amicable divorce between Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks, and they both need this to happen. Seattle, no draft capital whatsoever. Don't forget they gave away 2 first-round picks for Jamal Adams.
One of which is the 3rd overall pick right now in the draft.
I know. So they have no draft capital. They've struck out in their last 6 drafts. You look at their top three picks from the last 6 drafts. They're pretty goddamn awful. So they need draft capital. They need salary cap relief. Russell wants out of there. I think him and the head coach are kind of clashing a little bit. So I do, if I'm projecting, like I said, it's really early right now. I'm looking at the team at the Giants, who have 2 first-round draft picks early this year. They can get it done. You would normally say the Eagles, but you got to think about they're actually a little bullish on Jalen Hurts. The Jets,
so could the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, but I don't think they have the capital as much as the Giants. And I still think if Tua continues to play like you always said he would, they're going to want to keep him. So, like I said, my whole goal of this whole show is just to piss you off. So yeah, I do think they need to divorce. There's just the good old days are gone and they're done. So,
and that's all right. Like, this is the NFL. Like, teams come back, it comes full circle. Like, it's okay. But it's a difficult thing. It's okay because I'm watching this from the outside and I'm totally fine with this happening between you and I. But like, it'll be okay, right? Yeah. Like, it'll be okay. Things will turn around. Like, this just happens. Like, this just happens. I was having this conversation with somebody today. Because of free agency and things like that, dynasties are really hard to establish. The most recent dynasty is the New England Patriots. There's nobody else even close. There's nobody else even close that I would call a dynasty to that regard. But if you go back to the 70s, the 80s, teams like the Cowboys, the Steelers, the 49ers, right? Because there was no free agency. People sat on teams forever. Now everybody wants to go get paid. Now everybody's looking for the next contract. Now people are going to, hey, I played 10 years at this team. I need to go win a Super Bowl, right? Like, it's different mentalities. So change should be welcomed in the NFL, right? Like, and that's hard for a fan to accept, but sometimes it's best for all parties involved to hit the reset button and go about this. And like you said, regain some capital. Like, don't let Russ go for free. Like, get something in here so you can go draft somebody. And doesn't even have to be a quarterback right out of the gate. Go get a serviceable bridge in the meantime. And, maybe the next year or two are a little rough. But we've seen it only takes one really good rookie quarterback on a rookie scale to go ahead and right the ship really fast.
Exactly. And actually, I think this will segment. You just perfectly segmented the second reason why I'm freaking out. You said, a good rookie quarterback. You also said change should be welcome. And who else besides the Cincinnati Bengals? I know Burrow's not a rookie quarterback, but they are the epitome of what you just said right there. Change, a good young quarterback, and their playoff chances. So if I'm Cincinnati and I'm a Cincinnati Bengal fan, I'm freaking out about their playoff chances. They just defeated Big Brother. The Pittsburgh Steelers, by the way, for the second time this year. So swept them. And their offense is really, really, really scary because they can win a multitude of ways. They can pound the rock with Mixon, and they can air it out with Jamar Chase and Higgins. And the offensive line does just enough to keep Burrow, upright. And I'm good. This is where I'm going to put the bib on, get the fork, get the knife, because I'm about to eat some humble pie. When we did our top 10 running backs, we said I think you said that Mixon is towards the end of your top 10, or he just
I
missed
think I had
out.
him at like 8 or 9 or something like
Okay, and
that.
I
I think
didn't
I had him at
understand.
9, maybe.
I didn't understand that. I just felt like that was more for um, what do you like about him? He's all hype. But this year he's proved all the doubters wrong. He's been staying on the field. In the last 3 games, he's averaged 118 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns a game. And it's just like I said, they can beat you a multitude of ways. That Cincinnati Bengals offense. So once again, loving their playoff chances. And if I'm a fan, I'm rooting for them.
What I think's the craziest about them right now is you're right on all accounts. But to me, the biggest surprise from this team has been on the defensive line. So we talked about why are you giving up Carl Lawson to bring in Trey Hendrickson?
He's been
Right?
balling. Henderson
He's
and
been
the other guy,
and Sam Hubbard have
from
been
Ohio State. Yeah, he's been balling too.
balling, bro. They are all over this field, constant pressure, the sack machines right now. I feel like Hubbard recovers a fumble every week. It's out of control, and I think coupled with everything that you just talked about, in terms of their offensive production, with some consistency out of that defensive line and harassing quarterbacks, they're going to be a handful. They're going to be a handful. The only thing that I think they don't have going in their favor is when they get into the playoff, because this is a playoff team, the inexperience amongst these playmakers, right? And amongst the people on the team, and even within the head coach. It's not like Marvin Lewis is still there, right? Who's been there year over year with Andy Dalton and AJ Green and everything that they had. This is new to them. But they're high flying right now. And if I'm a Bungles fan, I'm like, yo, we are the Bengals. We are not the Bungles. We're the real deal.
Take off those paper bags, but off your head. But let's not forget where they play, the AFC North. So they play against
tough sledding, man. Tough sledding.
Not only tough teams, tough coaching too. Harbaugh twice a year, Tomlin twice a year, and Stefanski. That team's been ravaged by injuries, but
yep.
They're healthy. They're really formidable. The Browns too. So they go through some tough coaches, throughout the year. 6 times a year at minimum. So I consider that some experience there. But obviously the playoffs is a completely different animal.
Totally different now, but Zach Taylor's got this team moving, and good for them. They've been actually a lot of fun to watch. All right, so I'm gonna give you my final freaking out and move it through real quick. Coincidentally, my other freaking out also played on Monday night, and I'm for the Washington football team. 3 consecutive wins. They actually now are the 7th seed in the playoff standings, and they were left for dead a few weeks ago. Left for dead, right? Everybody counted them out. Everybody was, oh, where's the defensive line, this vaunted defensive line? And they're just finding other ways to win. Dude, they beat the defending Super Bowl champs pretty convincingly, actually, and they beat them. I think that the game against Seattle, the score says it's a lot closer than it was, but it took one final miracle drive from the Seahawks to even bring it into that contention. But Washington statistically dominated that game. Here's the good news. Antonio Gibson looking healthy, running the ball well.
Finally.
Yeah. You're now bringing back Logan Thomas. And maybe we could finally see a little bit of Curtis Samuel, who's been riding the pine and been out on injury for a little while. And you and I touted him as a big free agent find and a weapon for them. Albeit we thought Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to be the quarterback throughout this entire season. But again, it's Taylor Heineke. But even Heineke is he's just battling, man. He's just grinding. He's finding ways You mentioned something earlier
He's
that
like a
stands
young
out to me.
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. With less of a beard. The thing that I think best about Heineke is like I feel like he just understands his role, and his role, like a quarterback's job, Lou, is not to always go win the football game. This is the ultimate team sport, right? But the ball does touch their hands more than any other player on any side of the ball. Their job is to not lose the football game. And I feel like Heineke takes that to heart. Like I don't see him out there trying to do too much and making a mistake, but I see him letting it rip from time to time, but being conservative with football. And I think that bodes them well. And here's the reality. Like, are they finding their winning formula and hitting their stride at the right time of the year? It certainly feels like they are. They're only 2 games behind Dallas. And Dallas has been, last I checked, they've been struggling. They've been struggling to do their last win, albeit big.
New England?
No, it was Atlanta. Like they beat up on Atlanta. Like but like that's it, right? I mean, we've seen them lose to the Chiefs now. We've seen them lose to the Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders at this point. So I think there's actually some excitement in the AFC East right now. And I think they're going to make a charge. Are they going to get all the way there? Probably not and win the division. Are they going to make a push for the playoffs? 100%. And I think there's a strong likelihood that they find themselves in it.
Now, they're not the most talented team. I think we would
They're
agree
not,
first and
but
foremost. Not that they don't have any, but there's plenty of teams that are more talented than them. However, like I've said time and time again, it's all about coaching. And they have a hell of a good coach.
just Ron Rivera is as good as they come. And I don't care how much talent you have on a football team. You don't play like a team. Talent doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Look at the New England Patriots, dude. And like we talked about with their dynasty, they didn't have a super talented team. They didn't have their biggest superstar throughout any of those years was definitively Randy Moss, right? Like was their biggest like superstar. You find people who buy in, who lay it all on the line for one another and buy into team concepts. That's how you win football games. This is still the ultimate team sport. Like look at Tom Brady, dude. You gonna tell me Tom Brady is the most athletically gifted individual you've ever met? No, but he puts the team first, and he's probably one of the smartest and most motivated players that you will ever, and that works, right? And that's gonna work for him no matter where he goes because people believe in it and buying it around him. So I agree with you. They're probably actually the least talented roster, maybe on the offensive side of the ball in the NFC East, but they're gonna make a push for this thing, dude.
Yeah, no, listen, I had them winning the division. Boy, would they make me look smart if Dallas chokes and they win it. Woo! But I digress again. All right, so I think we're talking about offensive players now.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's pick it up our step a little bit. We are talking about offensive players of the week. Give me number 1 for you, Lou.
Well, what's the theme of this show, Weston? To piss you off?
Piss me off, baby.
All right, you ready? Daniel Carlson, kicker of the Las Vegas Raiders, is my offensive player of the week. He went 5 for 5 for field goals, long of a 56-yard field goal, 3 for 3 for extra points, and oh yeah, the game winner in Big D. So I'm saying my boy, your boy, Daniel Carlson is the offensive player of the week. How you like that?
How you like me now? I'll tell you this, Lou. You failed in pissing me off. I've been telling you how kickers are people too when we're talking about fantasy football and how they, my kickers have been carrying some of my teams this week. So better luck next segment to see if that continues.
Hey, I'll keep on trying.
All right, listen, give it the old college effort.
Yep.
My number 1 player, I think, is probably the most obvious. Since you took a kicker, I'll just take the low hanging fruit. It's Leonard Fournette. Went 17 for $1, 3 TDs, 7 for 31, and a TD. And it was like the first game in a long time that I've watched of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where I got to watch somebody else single-handedly win this game. That's name was not Tom Brady. Against the miraculous things that he does.
Against a difficult rushing defense.
Very difficult. Yeah. Dude, you and I talked about it with Jason. We were like, I don't know, like with Fournette because of this run D, and it felt like the offense was going to go through Brady, and Fournette balled out. Balled out, dude. Who you got? Another one?
I got Joe Mixon, 28 carries. I mean, I was talking to him before, but 28 carries, 165 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, averaged 5.9 yards per carry. So once again, Joe Mixon, and he's probably licking his chops too because he got the Chargers up coming this next week.
Yep. I got a couple more, but I'll just stay with one just for time purposes, and we'll get in. So I'm gonna go with Cordell Patterson. Went for 16 for a 108 and 2 TDs. He had 2 receptions for 27 yards. This one, he gets the nod from me because he's an ex-Vol. I've loved Cordero since he's come to the NFL, and I just feel like this is finally the time where a team has truly taken advantage of his supreme athleticism and skill set. Do keep in mind he was a first-round draft pick in Minnesota the year that they actually had 3 first-round picks, which is like crazy that a team ever had that. And he was one of those. I think he was their last one, if I remember correctly. Neither here nor there, but he's been around the league, right? And I think I think New England got really close. They were the first team that was like, let me put this guy in the backfield and see what he can do and run. But like, bro, he is literally the lifeline of the Atlanta Falcons offense right now, and he's just doing everything for them. I think they could get him even more involved in the passing game. They just need him as a running back because they had nobody else from Matt Ryan to turn around and hand the ball off to.
They just came out with their depth chart, and I think he's the 3rd safety on that team too.
Oh, he's like this. He's the assistant head coach at this point. He does everything for them. All right, let's get to the shout out to Jalen Waddle, by the way. Big week for him. I always got to give a wide receiver some love here.
What about Tua? What about Tua, man?
Bro, I am never going to talk about Tua Tagovailoa until I'm proven right. All right, so let's hop onto the defensive side of the ball. Who you got? Who's your number 1 defensive player of the week? You got the sniffles tonight, bro, huh?
I do. I've been having night allergies. This is the perks of getting old. Night allergies now.
Yeah. Dust mites are in our world. Yeah.
So first we're gonna stay in Miami for my defensive player of the week. I'm gonna say Jalen Phillips, 4 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks. And by the way, he's quietly had a pretty productive a rookie campaign this year. He has 6.5 sacks for the year. So shout out to Jalen Phillips because he really balled out this past week.
So I gave an honorable mention to the entire Miami defense.
Yes, because
I've given a game ball to an entire defense before, and subsequently it was the Miami Dolphins against the Baltimore Ravens. This is how I was so easily able to argue that point against Tua and being put in opportunistic situations. I mean, Miami, dude, they held Carolina to 10 of 31 passing, forced 3 picks. They had a fumble recovery and 5 sacks on the game, bro. They made
all against your boy Cam Newton.
Super Cam. Can't wait to talk about that on Sunday when we do our not victory lap. Yeah. But they balled. All right. So the low hanging fruit here for me, I'll take it. Azeez Al-Shaair.
Oh, okay, good.
From the 49ers. So he had 8 tackles. He had a fumble recovery. He had a pick and a pass defense in a game when Dre Greenlaw was re-injured, Fred Warner injured. To me, he just stepped up big time. Now, I know I was most intently watching that game beyond any game, but all over the field. I think 8 tackles is a miscalculation. If I went back and tallied it, I was looking at like 12 or 13 that he was involved in, but I'm going off of statistics that I guess are formal statistics. But dude is just outright coming into his own and making a name for himself, and it could not come at a better time for the 49ers defense.
I also had Patrick Surtain, his son, not the father. The father is retired by now. But Patrick Surtain had 5 tackles, 2 interceptions, and that backbreaker of a touchdown, pick 6. He did really good against the Chargers this past weekend.
I'm my second and final. I'm going John Franklin Myers from the New York Jets.
Yes.
3 tackles, 2 sacks, a pass defense, and an INT from a defensive end. And the Jets did what you and I said they would do and be foolish and go beat the Houston Texans. And he was a part of that. He had himself a game for sure.
He did. Anytime you can show either Jet fans some love or make fun of them and mock them, I'm for it. So I'm for both sides of the spectrum.
Well, I just did both in one statement. I gave them
Good.
some love and then said they were stupid for going to win the football game. But I'm here. I'm on the Jets bandwagon because dude, like I'm a fan of the head coach. Robert Saleh is my guy. And I think they're going to be all right. I just think it's going to take time. Like this is one of
Yeah.
those things they got to rebuild and they got to rebuild right.
Is that why your inflection went up in your voice? Yeah, I think they'll be all right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That sounds real confident right there.
I just want to tag New York Jets when I post this video and them
Yeah.
confidently listen. Yeah, all
Yeah,
right.
they'll be all right.
All
Couldn't
right.
say it with a straight face. Go
So
ahead.
week 13 is coming.
Yes, it is.
What are you watching?
All right, I'm watching the Bills versus the Patriots for the battle of the AFC East. The Patriots come in this week at 8-4. The Bills are 7-4. New England's on a 6-game winning streak. They beat the Jets, the Chargers, the Panthers, the Browns, Atlanta, and Tennessee, and have done it with an old-fashioned way of football, their running game and their defense. Among their winning streak, the Chargers are the only team to score to put up 20-plus points in any of those games. So their defense has been balling out. Buffalo, on their hands, tale of two cities right now. They've been somewhat on a roller coaster and inconsistent the last 6 weeks. They are 3-3 with losses against the Titans, the Jaguars, and the Colts, and wins against the Dolphins, Jets, and Saints. So it's not exactly murderer's road that they beat, in those 3 wins. I'm interested to see, do the ghost of the New England past, do they come and haunt the Bills and show Buffalo that no, just because Brady's not here, we're still contenders and we're still the big brothers of this AFC East.
This is number one on my list too.
Yeah,
New England's arguably the hottest team in football right now.
has to be.
Yeah, and Buffalo is back in the win column, regardless of who the opponent was, which I believe right now puts them first in the AFC East, even though they have similar records.
Mm-hmm.
This game has got serious playoff implications, right? Like the winner of this game is now looking at a home playoff game, right? And it's continuing to surge up. Might be looking at a home field advantage, depending upon how the rest of the season goes. Like this game has some extreme significance to it. And we'll talk about who we think is going to win in a moment here, but I'll move on. Item number 2 on my list is Chargers versus Bengals. Dude, this is a big game.
Yeah, I actually have that number 2 in my list too, but I have more Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow because these guys are going to be their legacy is going to be tied hand in hand, just like Eli and Rivers and Big Ben were. So they're always going to be tied every time they play each other.
I think it goes without saying, watching this game, I'm watching the quarterbacks, right? One thing I always try to keep in mind is the quarterbacks don't actually go against each other, right? Like but you're right. Like they're going to be hand in hand for their professional careers, where they were drafted, etc. You can include your boy Tua in that conversation.
Our boy.
Your
Listen,
boy.
I'm going
Let's
to make
be
you
very
look smart.
clear about that.
Yo, Weston, I'm going to make you look smart when Tua
No,
starts balling
I
out.
will make myself look dumb. I don't care. I know what my eyes tell me, and they haven't lied to me so far about this guy. But to me, this is what's important about this game. The Chargers need to bounce back in the worst way, and they need to do it against a formidable opponent. Has to be done, especially off of a divisional loss, and they need to win to maintain the playoff seeding, right? They lose and somebody else wins. Like now they're on the cusp versus being in the playoffs. And since he's rolling right now, and they're coming off a huge divisional win, smacking Big Brother right in the mouth for the second time this year, can they keep that going? Here's my biggest question, and here's the matchup that I'm most intrigued in, because you've talked about this being an area of deficiency for the Chargers all season. Can they stop Joe Mixon and the running game of the Cincinnati Bengals?
No. Next question.
You got any other game that you want to call out by any chance?
I had the Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow. If you look at Burrow's stats, he's 235 for 339, 69%. Nice completion percentage, 2,800 yards passing, 8.4 yards average. He's averaging 264 yards a game, 22 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. That comes out at 101.6 rating right there. Herbert, 289 for 438, 66% completion, 3,200 yards, 7.4 average, 315 yards a game, 24 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 96.5 rating. Translation, both are really good. Burrow's a little more efficient. Herbert puts up more gaudier stats, though. So
Okay, here we go. So let's get into. I'm just going to quickly shout out the
what's last week?
Steelers Ravens game, just because dude, I say this every week and I feel like I'm on a broken record, but love me some divisional games, and I love me some AFC North divisional games
Yeah,
because that's the black and blue division. Love it. I don't think Pittsburgh really has much of a chance, but you never know. It's a divisional game.
mm-hmm.
All right, so we're gonna run through the schedule for week 13.
Let's do it quick.
Last week you were 7-8.
Ooh, I've been bad the last 2 weeks.
I was 8-7, so I picked up a game on you. So
second week in a row.
Yep. So for the season, you are 57-42-1. I am 53-46-1.
So I'm 4 up on you.
Yes, 4 up.
No.
All right. So you ready?
Let's do it. No time like the present time.
I got my trusty notebook out. I learned it was so much easier just to be able to circle during
Right?
the games than it was. All right. Thursday night, Cowboys Saints.
Got to go Cowboys here. They're getting Cooper back, and I think they'll get Lamb back. I know they've been slumping a little bit, but I just feel like they missed some pieces there. So I'm going to say Cowboys.
I'm going to say Cowboys too. I don't think Cooper will be back, though. I've read he's like reeling a little bit from this. Like I think he had COVID like pretty bad. And he's still suffering through, but I really honestly don't care if Cooper's playing great, but even if he's not, I still think the Cowboys got this.
Then that's his issue. He's not listening to Joe Rogan. He's going to need to take more horse dewormer then.
It's called ivermectin, bro. Get your shit straight. All right, so let's get into the Sunday matchups. Tampa Bay at Atlanta.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm TB on this all day as well. Chargers, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
In Cincy. Yeah.
At 1 o'clock. It just
yeah. I'm in Cincy too. Just because on the road, 1 o'clock. Like
no Samuel for the Chargers. That's going to hurt them with their passing, the stopping the pass. It's just there's just too many things to worry about the Cincinnati offense. They're multidimensional, like I said. So
Vikings at Lions.
I go Vikings still. I know Cook won't play. I do feel that Matt when anytime Madison's number is called, he's a baller, man. He answers the bell. He's a perfect, compliment to Dalvin Cook. They won't miss a beat there. They played good against your Niners. I still think they win.
I'm taking the Lions.
Law of averages.
Law of averages. But also, like, remember I said that, like, I said if the Lions didn't win last week, I'm no longer taking them. And, dude, what were they, 4 seconds away from proving me right against the Chicago Bears? And I know the Bears are a lesser team than Minnesota. I just feel like a divisional game gives them the best shot where you're going to see shit by Dan Campbell and these teams that you've never seen before. Like, they're going to pull out
but they're missing
all of the stops, but they're missing DeAndre Swift. But
yeah, so
whatever.
That's the biggest.
That's a fantasy player. He's not an impact player on that team right now, dude. He's a fantasy.
Who is an impact player on that team?
Josh Reynolds.
Next, all right. So you're taking the Lions.
I'm taking the Lions. You heard it here first. Divisional game. I'm just saying the divisional game, and I feel like I agree with you. Alexander Madison is a phenomenal football player. He's a number one if he's not behind Dalvin Cook and other teams, and I don't think they'll miss a beat in that regard. What I'm looking at is that was a really defeating loss against the 49ers in a game that I promise you Minnesota felt like they should have won, and sometimes those are tough to recover from. And and the Lions have nothing to lose. And I don't foresee them not going this entire season without winning a single game. I think they have a shot here. That's being said, G-Men at Dolphins.
I'm going Dolphins, especially with not that it should matter too much, but Daniel Jones might not play this weekend. So you would like to – that's why I like to make these picks a little later on in the week to know about more of the injury report. Yeah. So right now you're just shooting from the hip here. But if I would say I think the Dolphins stay hot.
Yeah, I think the Fish win. It's so funny. Everybody texts me. Yeah, obviously. Fucking Tua. God almighty. When will this just go away? So I had a buddy text me the other day, and he's like, "Bro, I'm trying to save my fantasy team. do you trust Sterling Shepard with Mike Glennon? I was like, I don't trust anybody with Mike Glennon. Let's move on and go to the
I
next.
don't trust Mike Glennon's wife with Mike Glennon.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I don't think it matters if Danny Dimes plays or Glennon plays. I think the Dolphins home game, stay hot, continue to roll, and their defense is like finally getting back to the defense of 2020, in my opinion. All right, Eagles at Jets.
I do say Eagles. You have to be concerned about Hurts. Who's their backup? Oh, Tyler Minshew? Oh, Eagles. Doesn't matter. They're going to win no matter what.
Yeah, I got the Eagles too. I do think this is going to be a difficult game for them because I think they're going back. Some teams just struggle in the Meadowlands, dude. Like, what is this turf monster? Like, whatever it is, and have to play their consecutive weeks. But I think last week is as bad as it's going to get for Philly, and I think they'll rebound. And the Jets are just not a formidable opponent right now, in all honesty. So
but you think they'll be fine, though, you said, right?
yeah, but not this year, bro. Over time. It's year one of the rebuild. Give me a little bit of slack here, and I'll be right on this. I promise you.
Dude, year one of they've been rebuilding for the last 15 years.
This is the Robert Saleh era. Things are changing, bro. What other head coach gets up and straight up runs the stadium stairs before every single game? This man is an animal.
The Chargers head coach does that.
I'm sure. No, he does not. Does he really?
Yeah.
Staley does?
Yeah.
He got it from Saleh. They probably coach on the same staff somewhere along the way. All right. Colts, Texans.
Colts.
Yeah, I'm Indy here as well. The Washington football team versus the Las Vegas Raiders.
This one's a tough one. Who's home?
Raiders. I'll tell you right now, I'm going Washington, if that gives you any cause for concern.
Ooh, this one's going to be an interesting one. You know what? I'm going to go no, sorry. I was going to say Redskins, by the way. Ooh, I hope I didn't offend our listeners there. I'm going to say Washington football team. If you look the last 3 weeks, the Raiders defense have ranked 32 on like almost every category there is when it comes to, ranking and defense. I just think, I'm just going to go Washington on that.
All right. Jags, Rams.
The bleeding has to stop for the Rams, right?
Has to.
Even though these Jags are they're Goliath. They're Goliath killers, man. They killed the Bills, but I definitely going Rams.
Yeah, I agree with you. The bleeding has to stop. All right. Ravens, Steelers.
Ravens. This Steelers team is lethargic, lost. Yeah.
49ers, Seahawks.
But you saying, I'm assuming you're agreeing with me.
I'm Ravens. Yeah. I'm Ravens. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Last week I picked the Niners and
no, you didn't. You picked the Vikings.
No. Hear me out. If you go back to the audio, I picked the Niners, and then I changed my mind. I felt like he talked me out of it, and I'm a sucker for peer pressure. I'll tell you right now.
Apparently, I can
talk
you in any direction these days.
Talk to anything. So, I just don't see any life. I mean, the Seahawks signed Adrian Peterson. Their defense is awful. Like you said, they've been on the field so much. I don't care.
Short week, too. Short week, right? Monday night to come back and play Sunday.
It has to be San Francisco. But what I'm nervous about is kind of like you said before.
Big brother.
Yeah, just some teams just play you tough. I still think San Francisco, but I think it's going to be real close. I would feel better if Debo was playing.
Yeah, this is going to be a slop fest, if you ask me, right? Like, I just think there's going to be a lot of inefficient play from both offenses. I am picking the 49ers because they have to win this game. They should win this game. They are by far and away, in my opinion, right now, based on the rosters that are being fielded, the superior team. But the NFL's funny that way. And the NFL's real funny that way. But I am picking the 49ers.
Okay.
Broncos, Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm Chiefs too.
Broncos are not good. I know all the stats you can throw out there and their record or what have you, but the Chiefs will smack them around.
All right, here we go. Monday night. This is what we've been waiting for. Pats or Bills?
Make it 7. I'm going New England. White is out for the year. That's a huge blow for that
Yeah,
defense. That is
Tre'Davious White out hurts
and,
big
and
time.
guess what Buffalo can't do? Stop the run.
run.
Guess what New England has? They have 2 running backs who are physical bruising running backs. Give me New England.
I feel like you were right.
I know. How many times we gotta take a shot every time you agree with me because I feel like we'd be wasted by now.
That's what I'm saying. Everything in my gut says New England, but my heart says Buffalo needs to win this football game. Has to win this football game.
What does your mind say? You went your heart, your gut, your mind, your bowels. Any other?
My mind says New England. My mind says New England too. But my armpit says Buffalo Bills. So we're going Buffalo Bills on Monday night, baby.
Bills Mafia, baby.
Let's go. Bills, I'm throwing motherfuckers through a table when all said and done, hopefully. This is also about making up ground, just so we're clear.
And you've been doing it the last couple of weeks, by the way.
I know. I shouldn't have let you. You had like 2 picks that you changed. You almost took the Texans over the Jets. That would have gave me 2 games on you.
Yeah, but I had a moment of clarity.
You did have a moment of clarity. All right. Let's cap us off here a little bit. Let's get into our favorite segment real quick. I know it's early in the week, but let's get into who you got your eye on from a fantasy perspective this weekend.
Well, you briefly touched upon this player earlier in this show, Logan Thomas. He had 6 targets on Monday night, catching 3 for 31. He almost had a touchdown that got overturned. And another reason why I'm bullish on Logan Thomas is because he was second on the team with 6 targets. I think only what's his name? McLaurin had 7 targets. And also McKissick, I think is doubtful to play because he's dealing with a concussion. So when you factor in that the Raiders are also awful against tight ends, I'm feeling confident throwing Logan Thomas in that tight end spot.
Yeah. I like Logan Thomas to perform and do well as well. He looked good in his first week back from action.
Yeah.
I am as well. I started him last week. I had no choice in another league, and he wasn't even my tight end. It was in a flex position. That's how hurt I am in one league. I'm looking at Jamal Williams this week. He's the only show in town with Swift out for a bit. The Vikings D line and their entire defense, honestly, is banged up pretty good right now. He catches the ball out of the backfield. Like I said, being the only show in town, he's likelihood that he'll see a couple series as like a 3 down back. So maybe a couple carries, catch out in the backfield from Jared, check down Goff. He's probably been on your bench for most of the season.
Or the waiver.
For a lot of people, or the waiver. But to me, this is the week, if any week, you got to get him in the lineup. I'm picking the Lions to win, baby.
Yeah. What I said on our show when we did our fantasy show with Jason, what I say that it was imperative to do. Get your handcuffs.
Yeah. Yep.
Get your handcuffs. So I agree with you. Jamal Williams is on my list. Also, I have Madison as well versus Detroit. I think both will be fine. So yes, people, get your handcuffs. Don't get cute. We're getting close to that playoff season right now. I'm going to get a little cheap here, but Boston Scott and Miles Sanders. I'm saying this because if Hurts does play, I don't expect them to use Hurts as a running back per se, meaning like I don't expect them to have a lot of design runs for him. I think they will lean heavily on their running backs by committee. So I'm saying the Eagles backfield, and they're going against the Jets. So I think that's usually a recipe for success. So Boston Scott, Miles Sanders, are two players I'm feeling confident putting in my starting lineup.
All right. Well, I got another one for you.
Go ahead.
I dropped his name earlier.
Josh
Reynolds. Yeah, right. I'd let you play me before him. Josh Reynolds. Lou, look at me. 2 Detroit Lions from a team that hasn't won a game this entire season. But to me, Josh Reynolds is actually finally healthy. If you go back in the early season, a little bit of production before he got banged up. Look what he did last week in his first back. But what most people are forgetting is this guy played for years in LA with Jared Goff and was a huge third down option for him. He was like that unforgotten son when people were trying to cover up Cooper Kupp and looking at Robert Woods. Like this guy he was like the Kendrick Bourne of the 49ers for a while, right? Just big time third down catches and whatnot. Last week he had 5 targets. He had 3 receptions, 70 yards, touchdown. And I also feel, like I said before with the Jamal Williams thing, I don't feel like Minnesota's defense outside of like Harrison Smith is super productive right now. Anthony Barr went down in the game last week, right? So you're looking at Harrison Smith, Kendricks. That's it. There's 9 other guys out there. Like Patrick Peterson is not the Patrick Peterson that we all remember. I think Reynolds has every opportunity to have a good game here.
I was a big fan of Josh Reynolds coming out of Texas A&M. I just felt like he always was so below on the depth chart there. So yeah, you know what? I'm gonna see if he's available in one of my leagues. You know what? I might start him because I have Debo out and I need another wide receiver. So I'll take a look and see if he's available. I'll play him and then I'll call you out or shout you out next show.
Can't wait.
I'm looking right now.
You got anybody else? Because
No.
I got one more player I'll throw out.
ahead.
Russell Gage is the other one.
Okay.
Tampa Bay secondary is nicked up. He's actually become a heavy target for Matt Ryan as of late. 3 of the last 4 weeks, he's had 8+ targets per game. And obviously no Ridley there. I'm just thinking about game flow and garbage time on how this is going to go, right? Like I'm thinking this is a week he could easily see 8 to 10 targets. If he gets you 5 or 6 catches for 50, 60 yards, 10+ fantasy points might be the plug and play that some people are looking for with bye weeks this week, with injuries. Russell Gage is somebody that I think is probably on most people's bench, but this might be a week that you should find him into your playing rotation, your starting lineup. So, Lou, I think that does it for us this week.
Just picked up Josh Reynolds, so I will. So I will let you know how it goes,
and we're gonna let the world know how it goes. I have a feeling.
Yes.
So
all millions of our listeners.
Lou, as always, I appreciate spitting with you for a little while here. As I always do, I will rely on you to tell the millions and millions of listeners as to where they can find us.
As always, you can find us on Twitter and the best Instagram page out there at WTF Pod NFL. Check us out, man.
Give us a shout on YouTube at We're Talking Football. Hit the likes, hit the subscribes, please. That will help rise our content up, get a few more viewers, a few more action on us. And as always, Lou, I look forward to wrapping again next week when we recap week 13. Best of luck to your Chargers. Best of luck to my 49ers. But for this evening, sir, that's a wrap. Adios.